Welcome once again to Coach Steele's Finance Training. Happy to have everybody tuning in on today. Get your popcorn ready. Whatever it is you need to do to get ready, we are going to have an awesome time today here on Coach Steele's Finance Training. Make sure that everybody is tuned in, locked in, and ready to rock here at Coach Steele's Finance Training. Let me cut a little music on so we can cut a rug if we need to. We're going to have a good time on today. And you already know what to do as you come on in the room, as you check in. But right now, or catch this later, make sure you meet me, make sure you greet me, tell me good morning. I want to see who's tuning in and where you're from. Let's have a blast on today. We have an awesome, dynamic topic for you all today, and we are back at it once again because we are talking about the book that we were discussing a couple months ago. We made it through chapters 1 through 5, and now it's time to finish out the rest of that book on today. And so many of you have tuned in to Coach Steele's Finance Training. You know we have been going over the book, Rich Dad, Poor Dad. And I told you all that we would come back to finishing out this book on this year to continue with the book Rich Dad Poor Dad. Good morning to you, Mr. Tony Sherman. Happy to have you tuning in on today. And I held up from finishing out the book because I wanted to give everyone an opportunity to continue to read the book. Today, we're only going over chapter 6, one of my most favorite chapters in this book. And I love this chapter so much, I even dressed up for y'all on today. And so you should feel honored and privileged on this morning to tune in to Coach Steele's Finance Training. If you're on the YouTube channel, then definitely make sure you leave your comments in there. I can read them and respond to them. If you are on TikTok as well, I'll read them and respond to them. But we're going to have an awesome time dealing with chapter 6 from Rich Dad, Poor Dad. Work to learn, don't work for money. That's what chapter 6 is on today. We're going to do work to learn, don't work for money. It's an awesome chapter. It teaches you how to shift your mindset and your logic, why you do what you do, why you pick the jobs that you do, if you had to pick up a second job, a job on the side, why would you do it? What is the purpose for it? And what is the long-term play to benefit you? And I see Mr. Tony Sherman, one of our faithful listeners, said his water pipe burst this morning, so he's got to spend some money. Yeah, you have to spend some money. The good thing is you have passive income coming in, Mr. Tony Sherman, that helps supplement for when those life emergencies happen. Good morning to my lovely wife, Yvette Steele. Happy to have you tuned in to Coach Steele's Finance Training on today. So when we deal with this subject of work to learn, don't work for money, I know it sounds crazy. Like, don't work for money. So many people are used to working for money. But this chapter is saying work to learn. Does anybody understand the concept of what that means? I want you all to tell me, what does it mean to you, work to learn, but don't work for money? And as we're live today, make sure you share the live, whether you're on TikTok, Facebook, YouTube, Coach Steele's Finance Training, as we talk about Rich Dad, Poor Dad, chapter 6 on today, work to learn, don't work for money. I want you all to share this live because this will be a very interesting conversation for many of us to have, and what Robert Kiyosaki was talking about when he said work to learn, don't work for money. Now let's go a little bit deeper in this book. Many of you who haven't had a chance to read the book, remember that we did chapters 1 through 5 on my YouTube channel. That way you would have time to read it, but also go back and watch a lot of those videos that you didn't get an opportunity to participate in. And so as we go further here, let's see here. There we go. I see Tony Sherman's comment, and I believe he's hitting the nail on the head. Yes, Mr. Sherman, chapter 6 is saying learn to get skills that are valuable. You hit it. That's right on target. One of the main things that Robert Kiyosaki is driving home with this book is go get the skills that are valuable. And so right here on the YouTube channel, you see what I've just posted up, skills over paycheck. Skills is greater than a 9-to-5 paycheck. And as we dive into this book on chapter 6, we're going to understand what we mean with Tony Sherman and what I'm talking about when it's saying that we should go acquire the skills over the paycheck. Because all this is so good. We get so focused on the paycheck and we lose focus on acquiring more skills that we limit ourselves. When you look at chapter 6 of Rich Dad Poor Dad, one of the first things that happens in the book is Robert Kiyosaki is going to Singapore and he's going to do an interview with this lady. And she's a writer, and he granted her the interview with this newspaper in Singapore. And the young female reporter, she was on time. She was ready to do the interview. They're sitting in the lobby of this luxurious hotel. I need y'all to imagine that. Put yourselves in this nice, beautiful, luxurious hotel. You're right there with Robert Kiyosaki. You're getting ready to interview him. And she says to him, someday, I would like to be a best-selling author like you. And she said, and he said he had seen some of the articles that she wrote, and she had written these beautiful articles. And he asked her, he was like, you know what? You have great style, you're skilled, you're good at writing. What is the problem? Why can't you be a great author? Like, what's getting in your way? And she says this on page 217 on my book. My work does not seem to go anywhere, she said quietly. Everyone says my novels are excellent, but nothing happens. So I keep my job, my 9 to 5 with the paper, with the newspaper, and at least it pays the bills. And she asked him, now keep this in mind. She's asking a millionaire, multimillionaire, does he have any suggestions? And we're talking about on today, work to learn, don't work for money. As y'all are tuning in to Coach Steele's Finance Training, make sure you share the live. And we're talking about how chapter 6 says skills over paycheck. So Robert Kiyosaki, because she asked, he gives a suggestion. And his suggestion to her actually offended her. He told her she should go get a job learning how to do sales. And she was like, why would I go get a job making less money when I have a secure job in this position? So he said, yes, I do. He said, a friend of mine here in Singapore runs a school that trains people to sell. He runs sales training courses for many of the top corporations here in Singapore. And I think attending one of his courses would greatly enhance your career. She asked for advice from a multimillionaire. He gave her the advice and she stiffened. She said, are you saying I should go to school to learn to sell? He said, yes. And she said, you aren't serious, are you? And he asked, what's wrong with that? And he started backpedaling because she was offended. She got offended at his suggestion that he gave to her because it's not what she wanted to hear to become a best-selling author. But in that moment, Robert Kiyosaki was a best-selling author. So she's asking advice to someone who's in that field. And when he gives her advice, she gets upset, she gets frustrated with it. And so I want to hear y'all's thoughts and comments on today and read them. Like, if someone gives you advice and they're in that field, why wouldn't you want to follow it? She's trying to interview him and she wants to become a best-selling author, which is what he was. So anyway, the interview was over. She got offended by it. And as you read the book, you'll see where Robert Kiyosaki says he was actually a terrible writer. He wasn't a good writer at all, but he learned how to sell. She's a great writer, but she doesn't know how to sell her products. And so when it comes down to it, my entrepreneurs here on Coach Steele's Finance Training, when we talk about how to be successful in your field, some people have a certain talent and ability. Like this lady, she could write, but she didn't know how to sell what she was writing. And skills over 9 to 5, the reason why Robert Kiyosaki is emphasizing that in this story is because he's trying to tell her, you're actually better at writing than I am, but I have a better skill than you do. And because I have a better skill, I'm going to make more money than you, even though you're the better writer. And that's why we have to understand many of us have potential to go to the moon and beyond. And you're right, Tony Sherman. She had a little pride and she was stuck in what she knew. She had learned helplessness. She didn't want to go past what she knew in life. She was stubborn. So let's go a little bit further as we look at this. So as y'all read the book, you'll see where he talks about he's a terrible writer, but he's a best-selling author. And he has this great quote that I like on page 219. He says, "The world is filled with smart, talented, educated, and gifted people. We meet them every day. They're all around, but they're not willing to learn something new." So we got all of these talented people, but they're not willing to learn something new, which holds them back because they're looking to work for money and not working to learn. But what you learn, those jewels, those nuggets, are more precious than the temporary cash. That's good to me right there. Yvette says, "I see no problem with going back to school or taking courses to gain more information about what you love or learn a new skill." Yes, you have to be willing to find those extra courses. Invest in yourself. In that comment section, as y'all are listening in here on Coach Steele's Finance Training, put invest in yourself. You should want to invest in yourself, invest in your knowledge. I love this chapter 6 on Rich Dad, Poor Dad. That's why I dressed up for y'all today. I don't even dress up when I go to church. I never wore this suit to church, but I wore it for Coach Steele's Finance Training. I'm excited about this lesson on today. Let's see what else we can learn on today. Let's go deeper. All right, let's go a little bit deeper. And so what you're going to look at today is learning to have the concept of what he's trying to teach you all on today is the specialist mindset versus a generalist mindset. Thank you, Mr. Tony Sherman. Invest in yourself. All right. So some people have a specialist mindset, but Robert Kiyosaki is saying have a generalist mindset. Don't limit yourself to only specializing and knowing one thing, because now you just put yourself in a box. You want to have a generalist mindset so that you know and have a good understanding of a few things. And we'll go a little bit deeper about some of those things that he says as an entrepreneur, as a business owner, as someone who wants to grow wealth and make more money. We're going to dive in those 4 different areas that he says you really need to lock in and focus on. Let's dive back into the book. All right. So I'm on page 220 in chapter 6. What this phrase means is that most people need only to learn and master one more skill and their income would jump exponentially. So if some people would just be patient and learn one more skill, take a few more courses, tighten up in a few areas, and your income could jump exponentially. I see you all as you join in here on Coach Steele's Finance Training. Junior, Trisha, Apple user, all these good people, Tay, no, that's Faye, Fab, joining in. Let's go a little bit deeper here. One more skill set, your money increases exponentially. Thank you, Eric Jackson, for joining in as we're talking about work to learn, don't work for money. I know it sounds crazy. He said, I've mentioned before that financial intelligence, listen to this, guys, as y'all are listening in, financial intelligence is a synergy. Now, when we talked about generalist mindset and not having a specialist mindset, not having a tunnel vision in the marketplace, is accounting, investing, marketing, and law. Accounting, investing, marketing, and law. Now, when it comes to the financial intelligence and that synergy, it's not that you have to be an expert in every area, many times you are going to make that your circle of people. Here's a hint I'm throwing out there. Here's a jewel. You need to have different people from these walks of life that you have access to, that are within arm's reach, that you can connect to, so that if you don't specialize in one of these areas, because you're a generalist and you have a good understanding, you can put quality people on your team. So you have to understand you need quality people on your team to grow and be able to invest successfully. I'm in the real estate space, so I have to have quality people on my team, whether it's property management, whether it's lawyers, whether it's brokerage, whether it's a real estate agent, you name it. I have to have quality people on my team. Even the tenants that I put in my properties, they need to be quality people on my team. Let's go a little bit further. All right. When it comes to money, the only skill most people know is work hard. I want that to resonate with you all on today as y'all are tuning in to Coach Steele's finance training. When it comes to money, the only skill most people know is to work hard. And that, having only that skill, hey Clementine, happy to have you tuning in to Coach Steele's finance training. As y'all are tuning in, if you haven't subscribed to the YouTube channel, make sure you go to Coach Steele's finance training and subscribe to the YouTube channel. When you only have the skill of work hard, you have just limited yourself. You have just pretty much handcuffed yourself on how well you can grow money financially. Why? Because there's a cap on how hard you can work. There's a cap on how many rings Michael Jordan can win. There's a cap on how many rings LeBron James can win. Now, of course, LeBron James looks like he's going to play forever, but there's still a cap. Father Time has gotten everyone. Now, there's a cap on how many Super Bowls Tom Brady could win. He could win successfully, but far as working hard, physically, there's a cap on it. And so when it comes to money, the only skill most people know is to work hard. And I want to talk to you all today about having a limited mindset versus an unlimited mindset. And so it's abundance versus scarcity. And so you deal with scarcity when you only limit yourself to how hard you can work. The classic example of synergy of skills was that young writer for the newspaper. If she diligently learned the skills of sales and marketing, her income would jump dramatically. I would take some courses in advertising, copywriting, as well as sales. So she could become a best-selling author, but she limited herself to working for the newspaper and just working hard because it's a steady paycheck and income instead of learning another skill set. Now, here's an interesting thing when he was talking about writing his first book in chapter 6. When I came out with my first book, If You Want to Be Rich and Happy, Don't Go to School, a publisher suggested to Robert Kiyosaki that he change the title to The Economics of Education. And as you read the book, you realize Robert Kiyosaki told the publisher, I'm not changing the title of my book to The Economics of Education. I'm sticking with If You Want to Be Rich and Happy, Don't Go to School. He said, my title is more catchy. It catches more attention. It's more likely to go viral. It's more likely for people to pick it up as opposed to a boring title. And he learned all of that stuff through sales. He learned that stuff through acquiring other skills through marketing and advertising. And because of those skill sets, he was able to become a best-selling author because he learned little things that made a big difference. There's a difference between selling 20 books and then selling millions of books. Now, let's go a little bit further. He talks about how he graduated from the U.S. Merchant Marine Academy. And when he did, he went and got a nice job at the Standard Oil of California. It had hired him for its oil tanker fleet as a third mate. The pay was low compared to his classmates, but it was okay for a first real job after college. My starting pay was about $42,000 a year, including overtime. And so he had worked there for a little while where he could work for 7 months and he'd have 5 months worth of vacation. He had a great career ahead of him, but he resigned after 6 months with the company and he joined the Marine Corps. When you read the book Rich Dad, Poor Dad, he talks about the philosophies and lessons and money teachings that his rich dad taught him versus what his poor dad taught him. His poor dad wanted him to go get a 9 to 5, make good money, and work for 30 plus years for a company, hoping that he can make it to that point of retirement. The rich dad was all about entrepreneurship, creating businesses, acquiring skills, and putting a good team of people around you in specific areas so that you could go from a limited amount of income making to unlimited. So Robert decided to follow the teachings of his rich dad. So when he joined the Marine Corps, and left a decent paying job. His poor dad was upset, but he only joined the Marine Corps to learn how to fly. This is where it gets very interesting if y'all are reading this book and we're talking about working to learn, don't work for money, which sounds crazy to the average person. But when you think about it, why would he want to learn to fly? Let's dive deeper. He joined the Marine Corps to learn how to fly. His educated dad, poor dad, was devastated, but his rich dad congratulated him. He was happy for him. In school and in the workplace, the popular opinion is the idea of specialization. And we don't want to do that, of course. His educated dad believed in that dogma. We talked about that already. The rich dad encouraged him to do exactly the opposite. You want to know a little about a lot. That was the rich dad's mindset, to know a little bit about a lot. And as we are tuning in here on Coach Steele's Finance Training, make sure y'all leave y'all comments in the comment section. And so his rich dad, when he was younger, the rich dad would take him around to meet the bankers, meet the accountants, meet the lawyers. He wanted him in the meeting room with them so that he could understand the importance of having the right circle around you, having the right people around you. When I quit my high-paying job at the Standard Oil, my educated dad had a heart-to-heart talk with me. He was bewildered. He could not understand my decision to resign from a career that offered high pay, great benefits, lots of time off, and an opportunity for promotion. When he asked me one evening, "Why did you quit?" I could not explain it to him. Though I tried hard to, my logic did not fit into his logic. What am I telling y'all on today? Some of the life decisions that you make coming up, especially during this time frame and what's going on in the marketplace, you're going to have to make the tough decisions that other people are not going to agree with. But you can't worry about their logic, their mindset, because they think completely different from you. As you shift your mindset from being a specialist to a generalist, as you shift your mindset to acquiring more skills, taking more courses, it's not going to make sense to other people. How learning multiple skills increase income and potential and financial resilience is what you got to be focused on. Those are the things that we're looking at. And so as y'all continue to read this book, you realize and you learn that Robert Kiyosaki goes and decides to learn how to fly. Good morning to you, Mr. Tim Scott, as you're tuning in to Coach Steele's Finance Training. And so as you read the book, you see why, and it starts making more sense why he learned how to fly and where he chose to fly to. All right, let's go a little bit further. Job security meant everything to my educated dad. Learning meant everything to my rich dad. Check this out. The educated dad that went to school, his focus was job security. See how that sounds backwards? You're educated because you went to learn. But the rich dad, who had like a high school education, learning was everything to him. But it's about what you're learning and who you're learning from. Because what you realize in the book is Robert Kiyosaki, one of his main points and principles is don't learn from a teacher that doesn't put to practice or a professor who isn't doing what they're teaching about. So if you hit like a point, if you go to college and you're learning economics, but the professor, or you're learning about business, but your professor doesn't have their own business or history in it of success, Robert Kiyosaki doesn't believe that will be a good teacher for you. So as we're talking about work to learn, don't work for money on today, And you read this book, you end up finding out that Robert Kiyosaki purposely learned to fly international because eventually he wanted to get into international trade. He wanted to set up businesses, and he wanted to get familiar with other economies in different countries. Rich Dad knew I went to school to study international trade. So as a student, I made cargo runs, navigating large freight, oil tankers, and passenger ships to the Far East and to the South Pacific. Rich Dad emphasized that I should stay in the Pacific instead of taking ships to Europe because he knew that the emerging nations were in Asia and not Europe. While most of my classmates, including Mike, were partying at their fraternity houses, I was studying trade, people, business styles, and cultures in Japan, Taiwan, Thailand, Singapore, Hong Kong, Vietnam, Korea, Tahiti, Samoa, and the Philippines. And so some people decide to party early in life. But when you've made up your mind to accomplish your goals and you know the success that you want, you will hold off and learn how to wait and have delayed gratification. That's the words I'm looking for. Have delayed gratification. Tony Sherman says, practice what you preach. And so you all have to understand that he had delayed gratification. I know my peers are out there doing this and that. I'm going to learn the business that's going to pay me. So let's go a little bit further. So he wanted to learn to lead troops, and he wanted to learn to fly. One of the qualities that you learn in chapter 6 that Robert Kiyosaki says you need to know is you need to learn how to lead people. You need to learn how to be a leader of men and women. You need to learn how to lead groups of people. That was one of his skill sets that he wasn't good at. And so in chapter 6 of Rich Dad, Poor Dad, Robert Kiyosaki tells you about some of the things that he's not good at. And so what we do is we read this book. He shows you some of the things he wasn't good at and how he overcame them and became better at them simply because he put himself in training and environments to get better at it. He did not chase the money. He chased the skills because the skills will complement your future goals. All right. I wanted to learn to fly, but really I wanted to learn to lead troops. Rich Dad explained to me that the hardest part of running a company is managing people. The hardest part of running a company is managing people. That means you can have good product, you can have good services, you can have great pricing. Everything can be amazing for the company and the business that you're trying to run. But the hardest part of having a successful company is managing and stewarding the people. So if you're not good at managing people, that's short. Let's say you try to work with people, but it always ends in conflict. You try to work with people, but they always walk away. You have a high turnover rate as far as the relationships in your life, as far as people that want to partner with you, people that want to work with you. For some reason, things just keep falling apart. Guess what skill set you need to learn to work on? And that's managing people. For people in that space, for people that struggle in that area, you need to learn how to manage people and take courses or put yourself in an environment. One of the great things that Robert Kiyosaki says in here, let's say there's a project going on in your community, and let's say they need somebody to do it, but they're not paying. But maybe it's to build a farm. Maybe it's to build a garden. Maybe it's to build a swing set or a playground. That is going to require you to work with people, manage people to get the job done. That is good hands-on training to get better at managing people. When you get done with that project, ask for feedback. What could I have done as a leader to be better support for you all? How did I communicate with you? Did it make you feel good about yourself? Did it make you feel bad about yourself? Did it push you to want to be better? Did I motivate you? How could I? Because you have different types of personalities, different people. So Robert Kiyosaki went into the Marine Corps to learn how to be a leader of people and to learn how to fly and be able to carry his business internationally. Now, these are some great nuggets in here. When you look at chapter 6, he talks about how he was a shy person and the thought of selling was frightening to him. And so after he left the Marine Corps, he also talks about how he went to work for a company, the Xerox company. Now, this is back in the day when people would sell door to door. They would go house to house. So he took a Xerox job so that he can get out of his fear of being shy and not wanting to talk to people as well. He continued to take jobs and opportunities to work on his weaknesses so that he could become extremely wealthy. So he said, I worked with the Xerox for 4 years until I overcame my fear of knocking on doors and being rejected. So many people are afraid to talk about their product, afraid to talk about their business, afraid to talk about the services they provide because they're so worried about being rejected. What is someone going to say? Well, what if they don't like it? What if they tell me no? It's okay. More people may say no than they say yes. It's not the end of the world. No's are going to happen, and you have to be able to have the fortitude and the mentality to deal with the no's that come. You just go to the next person. You deal with the next situation. Many people get 10 no's before they get 1 yes. Sometimes you get 4 yeses in a row. And because people can't overcome rejection, they choose jobs for the salary and not the skill development. You have to remember, rich dad versus poor dad mindset when we look at chapter 6. I'm going to put up here the rich dad's mindset for you and read it for you. Rich dad's perspective, your income grows in proportion to the skills you develop, not the hours you work. Ooh, that's good, because the hours you work are limited. But the skills you develop can become unlimited. Let's look at the poor dad's perspective. Poor dad's perspective, as y'all are tuning in here on Coach Steele's Finance Training, you focus on job security, you focus on promotions or raises, hoping that they'll give them to you, and benefits, which is limited because it's based on your time. Your income is limited based on how much they'll pay you, and it's limited because you only have so much energy. Eventually, you run out of gas. Eventually, you have to recharge. So these are things that we have to think about here on Coach Steele's Finance Training as we talk about Rich Dad, Poor Dad, Chapter 6. Now, let's go a little bit further into the book. Let's go a little bit further. Robert Kiyosaki talks about businesses versus when you just work. He says, today I still do business internationally as my rich dad encouraged me to do so. I keep seeking emerging nations. Today, my investment company invests in South American countries, Asian countries, as well as Norway and Russia. So it paid off for Robert Kiyosaki to learn how to fly, to learn how to move products, to learn how to connect internationally with other people, to join the Marine Corps so that he can learn how to be a leader of men. He says there's an old cliche that goes, job, J-O-B, is just an acronym for just over broke. Unfortunately, I would say that applies to millions of people because school does not think financial intelligence is an intelligence. Most workers live within their means. They work and they pay their bills. There's another horrible management theory that goes, workers work hard enough not to be fired, and owners pay just enough so that workers won't quit. Ooh, that's good right there. Because you know, if your job really paid you, then you wouldn't work there as long as you did. You would transition to another job. If I could just make this certain amount for the next 5 years, I would be out, or I could start my own business. So he's saying jobs pay you just enough so that you won't quit, but also just enough so you're not broke and can't pay your bills, because otherwise you would quit and leave. Now, and if you look at the pay scales, most companies, again, I say there is a degree of truth about that statement. This is what Robert Kiyosaki says he recommends. Instead, I recommend to young people to seek work for what they will learn more than what they will earn. I need y'all on today to seek work more for what you're going to learn than what you're actually going to earn. So many people are like, what am I going to earn? What am I going to get from it? Instead of learning to be flexible. What are you going to learn from that job? What are you going to learn from volunteering where you can then take that and make passive income from, make reoccurring income that doesn't stop whether you clock in or clock out? Can you learn a skill set from that that will make you even more financially free? What you learn, your education is going to determine your earnings. So your self-education and the skill sets that you learn are going to take you further. There's power in being a generalist, and that's one thing that Robert Kiyosaki is trying to teach here. All right, let's go on to the next few. I won't go through all these chapters. There's a lot more pages. There's a lot to go. And so basically, as you pick up on some of these skills about being a generalist, it's going to make you look odd for thinking different. In chapter 6, page 226, Robert Kiyosaki says in the movie Jerry Maguire, anybody ever seen that movie Jerry Maguire? Put your hand up in the comment section if you ever seen the movie Jerry Maguire. That's with Tom Cruise and Cuba Gooding Jr. Show me the money. So Jerry Maguire, starring Tom Cruise, there are many great one-liners. Probably one of the most memorable, and if y'all have some other good memories of one-liners in that show, you can put them in the comment section. I watched that movie multiple times, so I got a bunch of one-liners from that show. And so I'm not sure what some of y'all favorite ones are. Probably the most memorable is "Show me the money." But there is one line I thought more truthful, and it comes from the scene where Tom Cruise is leaving the firm. He had just been fired, and he is asking the entire company, who wants to come with me? This is early on in the movie. And Tom Cruise is looking around. He tells his job. He tells the company, everybody's in their cubicles here. And Tom Cruise is like, I quit. I'm going to start my own thing. I'm going to do my own thing. He's pumped. It's like he had an epiphany that I don't belong here anymore. I have greater potential. I'm in this rat race over and over when I can do my own thing just as good, if not better. And he has this excitement that comes over him. And Tom Cruise is so excited about quitting this job at this firm that he worked for and not feeling as valued. And all of a sudden, he thinks everybody else is going to have the same epiphany as him. And he starts saying, who is going with me? And it gets quiet. It gets quiet in the room. He's looking at people that he was cool with, people that he had worked around. He thought other people were going to just get up and walk out with him. Who's going with me? And what am I telling you on today? You're going to have those moments. I'm not telling y'all to quit your job and get up and to ask who's going with you. But you're going to have those moments where you're going to make decisions that are going to seem odd or different, and everyone else is going to look at you like you're crazy. But picking up those unique skills, having confidence in yourself, investing in yourself is going to elevate you to another level. In the book, it talks about how the 401k system is basically flawed. It's jacked up. Most people don't even have enough to retire. Don't depend on that, because as you get older, whatever money you collect over the next 20, 30 years is what you're going to have to live off of. And most times it's not enough for people to maintain themselves. So he asked this question. He says, so I wonder, are workers looking into the future or just under the next paycheck? Until their next paycheck. Are workers looking into the future or just until your next paycheck? Never questioning where they are headed. And see, when you only look for the next paycheck, then your financial vision is very limited. That's some bad vision. You got to look at the future, where you're going. And here on Coach Steele's Finance Training, that's why I like teaching financial literacy and trying to open up people's mindsets and teach them why the wealthy deliberately learn across multiple disciplines. And that's what I want to put up here. I'm going to put all of those multiple disciplines on here. And for those of you that are on TikTok, I'll read them out loud. If you're tuning in on TikTok, you can go to the YouTube channel and subscribe to Coach Steele's finance training. All right, let's see. We have it right here. The wealthy deliberately teach across multiple systems, multiple disciplines, important wealth building skills, sales, marketing, communication, and influence management and leadership and financial literacy systems. Ooh, that's good right there. Financial literacy systems, thinking, and business operations. It's a lot in there. Guys, I work hard. I do a lot of homework. I do a lot of research. I learn different financial systems and strategies that people use to make income. And I'm not a specialist at just one, but I understand the concepts and the fundamentals of multiple ones. And I do that because I like to keep my eyes and ears and my options open at all times to what I need to do. You're going to have seasons where a financial strategy just makes perfect sense to do. But then you have seasons like right now where even though somebody normally is in real estate investing, over the past year and a half, they may have slowed up from doing it and took other routes and other options because of the marketplace. So you have to be willing to learn different skills so that you can make adjustments and pivots in the marketplace when it makes sense. So I never limit myself to one way of making money or one asset class. I may prefer one asset class over another, but I never limit myself. It's like trying to limit yourself to just one stock, investing in one stock when that's not safe. Now you put all your eggs in that one stock basket, and if it goes bad, everything goes bad for you. Now, you can't be afraid of failure and rejection because you decide to do something that other people think is ludicrous or doesn't make sense. He says, but those of you who might be on the fence when it comes to the idea of working to learn something new, I offer this word of encouragement. Life is much like going to the gym. The most painful part is deciding to go. Once you get past that, it's easy. There have been many days I have dreaded going to the gym, but once I am there and in motion, it is a pleasure. After the workout is over, I am always glad I talked myself into going. And that's what I'm talking to you about on today. I need you to open your minds and hearts and understand that getting another skill set may change the game for you. But you have to humble yourself. You have to be willing to be mentored. You have to be willing to be tutored. You have to be willing to be coached. And sometimes that costs. But are you willing to pay for that new skill set that is going to open up your financial opportunities in front of you? Now, let's go a little bit further. Listen to this example that he says in chapter 6 on page 230. McDonald's is excellent at business systems. The reason so many talented people are poor is because they focus on building a better burger and know nothing about business systems. Because he asked one of the class he teaches, he said, who thinks they can make a better burger than McDonald's? And all of them raised their hand. Yeah, I know I can make a better hamburger than McDonald's. He said, well, if you make a better burger, a better product, then how come you don't have McDonald's success? How come you don't have McDonald's money if you actually make the better product? And of course, they all realize that McDonald's has a better business system. So therefore, they get more clients. They get more customers. Same thing with Chick-fil-A. The systems that Chick-fil-A has in place, customers know what to expect. They know what they're going to get. So therefore, they have more customers and they have more success. Generalists can build business, create income streams, and adapt during economic shifts. That's what I want you all to understand. I want you to shift your mindset to not limiting yourself to just being a specialist, but learn how to be a generalist. Some of you who are worried about job security or have been laid off in the past, if you had learned certain skill sets, it will hold you over allow you to get another job quickly, or it would have made the company difficult to try to get rid of you because of what you bring to the table. Someone who can sell, manage money, market themselves, never stays unemployed long. I want you all to understand that. Someone who can sell, manage money, and market themselves never stays unemployed long. If you can manage people well, it will help you not stay unemployed long. And being a generalist and not a specialist opens up those opportunities for you. Many avoid new roles or learning something new because they don't want to look inexperienced. Many people avoid new roles or learning new skills because they don't want to look inexperienced. They're worried about what other people are going to say. We got Timothy Scott says, I learned to invest in myself after I changed my mindset. That's where it all starts. As you adjust your mindset, you'll see progress in other areas. Temporary discomfort leads to long-term financial freedom. I told you all earlier that sometimes you just have to learn how to have delayed gratification. Some people have egos that get in the way of learning, and they have no idea. I've seen people that have egos, and it gets in the way of them learning, and they're trying to accomplish certain goals, and they have no idea that they're taking the long way to accomplish their goals. But if they would have invested in themselves, if they'd invested in coaching, if they'd invested in mentorship, a lot of their goals they're trying to accomplish, they would already be done. But they don't know that because they can't see it. They've never been there. And they're so afraid of, if I give this to someone, if I invest in this, if I take this, if I learn from this, then I will help that other person come up. And that may push me back. If you're trying to accomplish a goal that takes a year or 2 years, and someone can show you how to do it in 6 months, there's some opportunity costs, and there's an opportunity to make so much money. But people limit themselves. That's why it's important to invest in yourself. Let's go a little bit further here. Let's go a little bit further. We want to work to learn and not work for money, not just work to earn. I want to hear y'all's thoughts and your comments on today as we go over chapter 6 with Robert Kiyosaki's book, Rich Dad, Poor Dad. And so we want to work to learn, not work to earn. Let's go a little bit further. All right. They learned that basically McDonald's makes more business than them because they have business systems. Some people are afraid of, he talks about, some people, why they don't want to learn about sales and stuff, because being in sales, it has a bad connotation about it. His poor dad wanted him to specialize. His rich dad wanted him to be a generalist and not be trapped, independent, and limited on that specialty. All right. Rich Dad advised Mike that Mike and I groom ourselves. Many corporations do the same. They find a young, bright student just out of business school and begin grooming that person to someday take over the company. So these bright young employees do not specialize in one department. They are moved from department to department to learn all the aspects of business systems. And that's pretty interesting as well. And so you'll see people learn different things. Don't be afraid to move from one thing to another. Some people are afraid to move from one opportunity to the next. What if I fail? What if it doesn't go right? What if they don't like me? What if all of those what ifs? Because it's a pessimistic attitude instead of an optimistic attitude. As y'all are tuning in to Coach Steele's Finance Training on today, and we're getting ready to go over a real good part right here. Make sure you share the live if you're able to. That way other people can tune in. We want to hear their thoughts and comments about work to learn and not working for money alone, and that mindset. If you're a little late to jumping in, we're having a great conversation here. The main management skills needed for success. Check this out. I want you all to know this. This is important. because some of you want to have success. Some of you have businesses that you want to have success with, your own personal businesses. You may work it for a business and you still need to tighten up on some things so that you can elevate, get promotions, make money, take that money so that you can invest it into your own. The main management skills needed for success are management of cash flow. Here on Coach Steele's Finance Trainer, we talk about managing your cash flow, increasing your cash flow all the time. Make sure you subscribe to the YouTube channel so that you can improve in those skill sets. Number 2, management of systems. We talk about different systems all the time here on Coach Steele's Finance Trainer. I talk about the HELOC strategy. That's a system to eliminate debt, how to be able to pay off your mortgage and all these consumer debts, credit cards, personal loans, student loans, car notes, how to get rid of all of those consumer debts at an accelerated rate. Those are systems. I talk about the income stacking snowball. I'll get to that another day. There's something else called the cash flow dojo, different things like that. We talk about different things, income stacking snowball, be able to create passive income where you don't have to clock in. We talk about the system of long-term real estate investing. We talk about here on Coach Steele's Finance Trainer, and I talk to you about dividend stocks portfolio and show you my dividend stocks and how it increases over a period of time through DCA, dollar cost average. Business systems, things that people put in place so that their business, your business that you have to mind, is successful. Number 3, ladies and gentlemen, is management of people. You have to learn how to manage and work with people successfully. I talked about this earlier on today. Chapter 6 of Rich Dad, Poor Dad is so power-packed. I love this. Is my favorite chapter. When you all go back to the YouTube channel and you look at the different chapters, they are all good. I love the one that also teaches about assets versus liabilities. That might be, this is 1A, and that other one, assets versus liabilities, might be 1B. So those are my favorite ones. But I love this one so much, I decided to dress up and put on a suit for y'all. But anyway, let's go further. The most important specialized skills are sales and marketing. The ability to sell, to communicate to another human being, be it a customer, employee, boss, spouse, or child, is the base skill of personal success. Communication skills, such as writing, speaking, and negotiating are crucial to a life of success. These are skills I work on constantly, attending courses or buying educational resources to expand my knowledge. I don't know if we're going to get through the rest of this. There's like 2 more pages, but I'm going to stop right there because I really want to deal with negotiating skills. He talked about communicating and negotiating, and I want to deal with that. And so as y'all read chapter 6, you're going to see towards the end, he talks about giving and the mindset of his rich dad. His rich dad loves giving a lot. His poor dad says, I can give when I get paid more money or when I make a little extra. But his rich dad has a different mindset because his rich dad learned that if you give, you shall receive, and that it's more blessed to give than receive. And so he doesn't hold these archaic old rules and how the school system teach people. He doesn't like them. He likes you to learn a different way to educate yourself and learn. I want to talk to you all about negotiating and why it's important, because we have maybe about 5 more minutes left here as y'all are tuning in to Coach Steele's Finance Trainer. Make sure you subscribe to the YouTube channel. Also, when you all get a chance, go to my website. That way you can get you a shirt. Make sure you wear what we're talking about and have that mindset. Not only have the mindset, but also wear it. And you can get a Make Money Multitask t-shirt from my website. If you need my website on my YouTube channel, it's down there at the bottom of the ticker, www.steelesfinanceacademy.com. You can also look at some of the other products that I have there as far as what I help people with. But I really want to deal with negotiating. So let's go there. Why is negotiating such an important skill set to learn? I remember when I was in middle school and I wanted to make some extra money. And the way I made extra money in middle school was by mowing lawns, basically cutting grass and raking leaves in the fall. And because I grew up in Georgia, there's always a lawn that needs to be cut, or there's always some leaves that needed to be raked. And so when I did that, as a young middle schooler, I don't know, 11, 12, 13 years old, I would go to these people's houses, go to their door, talk to them, communicating to these adults and telling them, oh, well, I'll do your whole yard for $25. Talking to them. In that negotiating, there wasn't much negotiating initially because these adults were like, sure, go ahead. Do you want me to give you the bags? What do you need any help? They were always happy when I first started my lawn care business. And one, I didn't even know I was an entrepreneur. I didn't know to call what I had a business. I was just trying to make extra money because my mom was raising 7 kids by herself. So anyway, as we go deeper into this, I started noticing, why does everybody say yes to me so quickly when all I say is $25? My brain was, and where I grew up, the front yard was always small and the big yard was always, I said the big yard, the backyard was always bigger. So I would do 10 for the front yard and $15, I'd add extra $5 because the back was always a little bit bigger. So then if you want the whole thing done, it was 25. If you just want the front, I'd do it for 10. These people were quickly, I had so much work. Now, check this out. I didn't realize because my prices were lower. We're talking about negotiating, right? I didn't realize because my prices were lower, I was buying everybody else out. You know how Walmart does low prices every day, so everybody rushes to Walmart, and then now over the years, Walmart raises the prices up. I kind of did that without knowing that that's what I was doing. It was an accident. It wasn't on purpose. So now everybody wants me to do their yard. I'm walking around pulling a lawnmower and gasoline can around my neighborhood everywhere. I'm getting a workout. I'm in shape. And of course, I had to cut grass that was high, low. I learned to negotiate. If your grass was high, I talked to someone and they finally were straight up with me. They was like, why are your prices so low? And I was like, wait, what? I can charge more? They were like, yes. For a yard like this, you should at least be charging 35. If it's that way, you should be charging 50. I said, what? Instantly, I started learning I need to speak up for myself and negotiate. I started learning negotiating skills in middle school. So now, because I learned to negotiate, catch this, because I learned to negotiate successfully, my profits doubled. Instead of making $25, because I learned to negotiate and I learned my worth, I can now charge 50. Now, I'm talking about something I learned in middle school. Some of you will say, oh, well, okay, that's just an extra $25. The same concept applies. If you learn how to negotiate better now, some of the money you get paid from your 9 to 5, some of the jobs that you're trying to start, some of the opportunities you want to create for yourself, I want to tell you, I'm not just talking about negotiating your worth. I'm talking about learn how to be creative in negotiating. Some people say, well, I can't get into real estate because my credit's bad. You can do owner financing. You can negotiate deals without having to use your credit score. The art of negotiating and being creative in your negotiating skills will take you further. You can get into certain doors that you would not have been able to get into before. Once again, coaching and mentorship and the goals you're trying to accomplish, you can have somebody that you want to help, but because you're not willing to invest in yourself and pay them for the coaching or the mentorship or the guidance, they'll sit there and look at you and they may not help you further because you're too selfish to help yourself. Guys, when I'm talking about Rich Dad Poor Dad Chapter 6, work to learn instead of working to earn, when you choose not to do that, it's being selfish to yourself. You're being a disservice to yourself. You have to care enough about you to improve your abilities. When you learn to communicate better, it builds up your confidence. You become more clear. There's more clarity, and you have to practice those things. You have to do it with repetition. Anyone uncomfortable with sales is limiting their earning potential. Sales is not manipulation, ladies and gentlemen. It's communicating value effectively to other people. I'm not going to have time to finish chapter 6 on today. The next chapter eventually we'll do is chapter 7. Make sure you go and get the book. Guys, also make sure you go to my website, and patronize my website, you can go to, and I'll show it to you real quick. And I'm going to get out of here. I got some other things I need to take care of. But if you go to the website and you click on shop, and that's where you can find the t-shirts at on Coach Steele's Finance Training. And you can order a shirt in whatever color that you want. It's Coach Steele's Finance Training. Appreciate everybody tuning in.